Welcome to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm your host, Dean Zarbaugh. Today's show is sponsored by House of Helga. Are you a brewery looking for some vibrant, stunning artwork to slap on that freshly bottled or canned beer? Contact House of Helga for all your design needs. They've worked with Masthead, Streetside, and yours truly here at the Taproom Exclusive. You can check out Kyla's entire portfolio of incredible work at houseohelga.com. Also, be sure to check out House of Helga's Facebook page and purchase a House of Helga t-shirt. The cost of school supplies are at an all-time high. A recent survey from the National Center for Education Statistics found that 94% of public school teachers pay for classroom supplies. In the greater Columbus area, Operation Backpack works to offset this by donating backpacks and school supplies to 25 schools across Franklin and Licking counties. Profits from the House of Helga t-shirt sales will go towards Operation Backpack to help a local child in need with supplies for the upcoming school year. Do your part to help those in need by going to facebook.com/House of Helga Design Studio and pick up your shirt today. On today's show, I chat with Bascule Brewery's brewer Chris Kambouris over their tasty Big Bottom Berliner Weisse. But first, a taste of what's going on in the craft beer world with this week's Tasting Glass, brought to you by Northeast Ohio Craft Brewery News. Masthead announced via their Facebook page last week that they have installed 2 60-barrel fermenters and 1 60-barrel bright tank in their brewery, so you can expect some more tasty Masthead brews coming at you in the future. You can keep up to date with all things Masthead at facebook.com/mastheadbrewingco. It's almost time for Beer Women Rock 2019. Join Beer Women Rock at Jukebox on July 27th from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. to raise money for our friends and neighbors at Drink Local, Drink Tap and win some awesome raffle prizes at the same time. If you can't make it out to the event but still want to donate, you can find the link at facebook.com/jukeboxcle. Be sure to get your tickets to Brewfest Waterfront District 6 taking place at Black River Landing in Lorain on Saturday, August 10th. VIP tickets are only on sale until July 28th, so grab yours before they're gone. VIP tickets come with a sample glass, 15 4-ounce samples, an exclusive sample from Franklin Brewing Company, food from Smash, the world's greatest food truck, an exclusive American Apparel Brewfest t-shirt, a Brewfest drawstring bag to collect your goodies from the event, and your own private air-conditioned area with private restrooms. VIP tickets are limited to 100 tickets at brewfestwd.com. General admission tickets are also available. Log on and get yours now. I will be at Brewfest this year broadcasting live, so stop by and say hi. All right, my interview with Chris Kambouris, brewer for Bascule Brewery and Public House in Lorain, Ohio, is up next after this tune, When All You Have Is Doubt by Steve Wright. Welcome back to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm here at Bascule Brewery with Chris Kambouris. We have moved on to the Big Bottom Berliner Weisse. Tell the people, we got into a little bit about it in the earlier episodes. Tell the people a little bit about this style and how you came to brew it.
So the Big Bottom Berliner Weisse, well, let's start with what a Berliner Weisse is. It's a kettle-soured ale with a little bit of a wheat thrown into the grain bill to add kind of like a freshness to the flavor profile. But where we got the inspiration for Big Bottom Berliner Weisse. Initially, we were going to brew this beer using 100% maple water. We were going to try to share some of the spotlight with this beer with the Metro Parks, which is something we attempted to do in the beginning, but at the scale that we're doing it at, it's literally, if we wanted to share the proceeds of this beer sale, it's like we're literally like throwing them like $30-$40. It's like not much. So we're gonna revisit that as the thing gains more, or I'm sorry, as we grow in scale. But Big Bottom Berliner Weisse, the name, or the inspiration behind the name, is the area where French Creek and Black River connect.
Okay.
That area was once known as Big Bottom. Some of the earliest settlers that came across here found this big, deep ravine, and it was a real challenge to get across it. What was actually special about this region is almost the Fertile Crescent of Lorain County.
Oh, nice.
The Native Americans were using it to grow all kinds of fruit groves, all kinds of maple groves. It was just a real lush region. Now, if you drive past it, it's covered in slag. So, I mean, I don't want to knock the steel industry. I don't want to, say that it was a black eye. I mean, obviously, it's done a lot for this region,
right?
But, I want people to recognize the fact that Lorain and Lorain County is more than just industry in that regard. There's a beautiful geographic, asset to it. And so Big Bottom was a way to pay homage to that. It's all about, with Bascule Brewery, it's all about trying to see the other side of the coin with Lorain. It's about trying to see the other potential. Sometimes almost like an alternate universe, it's like
what if
instead of steel mills, instead we focused on our small trades. Like the agricultural aspect of it, because I think it does the city good to do that, because look at what happens. You have the steel mills that just take over everything and then vanish, and it leaves this void, this vacuum, and leaves everyone kind of wondering, what do we do next? So the inspiration behind Big Bottom Berliner Weisse was to really focus the attention on the fact that there's more to Lorain than just big industry.
And so sours are a really big up-and-coming category right now. And what was it about making it a sour that you wanted, that was the inspiration for the sour side of it? Because it seems to me that's a really hard style to make, and I could be wrong. I'm not you. I don't know how to brew beer whatsoever. But what are some of the challenges to brewing that style, and what was it that made you decide, hey, this is actually going to be a Berliner Weisse specifically?
I'd have to go back in the annals of my mind to remember how that happened. I think it may have just had to do with the fact that we were just scouring through some Lorain history, and we discovered, okay, my God, this region called Big Bottom, and Fred is a wordsmith, and he likes to play with words a lot. And when you think of a region like Big Bottom, we were going through beer styles that start with B, and Berliner Weisse came up, and it just kind of like started to make sense. We, as I said, we initially wanted to use 100% maple water for that, but as far as the Berliner Weisse goes, it's like, wow, I've never done that before. We kind of need one. It's a perfect time of year to do it, because when you look at when maple trees start to produce their maple sap, it's actually, as opposed to popular belief, it's not in the fall. It's actually in the spring. When winter is finally starting to subside, and the trees are starting to bolster themselves with all this nutrition and fluid, that's actually when the maple runs. So, as far as a sour goes, it's a particular type of sour. It's not, it's not like a one of these real long-aged sours. It's a kettle sour. It allows us to achieve that nice, succulent a refreshing tartness that draws people in for a sour without having to wait 2 years for it to age in a barrel in the corner of your brewery somewhere.
Right. And that's got to, that you can't, at a brewery your size, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have enough to trip over right now on the scale that we're at. So,
right.
Yeah, it wouldn't be really practical for that. It's a fun process to do. A kettle sour is the equivalent to a sourdough bread. So if you're even vaguely familiar with how bread baking works, you're going to add your flour, your water, a little bit of sugar, some oil, toss your yeast in. 2 hours later, you've got dough. You could bake that, flatten it out and then bake it, and then turn it into pizza, whatever you like.
Yeah.
A sourdough is a little more artisanal. It's you would allow wild yeast to inoculate that bread to start to raise the bread, and it produces kind of a tart profile. Bread and beer are very similar, so all we're doing is just allowing a very particular strain of bacteria as well as yeast to do the job of bringing this tart, refreshing flavor to the beer.
And that, listening to you talk about all this stuff, it amazes me the amount of work that you guys do to make this stuff. People who are on the outside don't always necessarily know the amount of effort and stuff it goes into to get all these styles down and to get them balanced and stuff. Have you found it more difficult to balance the flavors in a sour versus a quote unquote non-sour?
Actually, no. Sours, I mean, you touch upon a very interesting point. We definitely, when it comes to the beer and we make and how we make it, the beer that gets placed in front of you is only 50% of the experience. The rest of it is being able to share the story of how that beer came about, what went into it, giving the drinker the opportunity to inquire about it. You watch all these travel shows, you watch all these cooking shows, and you hear these guys talk about all the most mundane little details that went into making something. And
right.
We go to the store, we buy our Oscar Mayer salami, and it's like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
But you go to someplace in Little Italy where you see the meat aging for 45 days,
right.
and there's all these little nuances, and it brings out a nutty flavor, and we had to keep the climate. And then when you eat that, you're not only digesting that food, you're digesting everything that went into that food. And so, yes, I make my beer as approachable for the person who just wants to come in and just enjoy the beer without really thinking too much into it. At the same time, though, I want to provide a product that allows you to dig deeper. If you want to scratch beneath the surface, I have an answer for you.
Right.
And I find, I'm trying to produce something that I would want to seek out. So there's a lot of restaurants I go to or bars that I go to, and I'll ask someone, "Whoa, tell me more about this," and there's no answer, and I'm like, "Well, thanks a lot. That was." So
you could have made a sale.
Yeah, So I mean, I'm still gonna enjoy it, but
right.
It would have been just that much better.
Yeah.
And so yeah, a lot of work goes into it. But if you're speaking about Berliner Weisse as how difficult or easy it is to play with as a style, oh my God, the reason why I do it is because it's so versatile. Acidity gives you so much more of a playing field with flavors. Think of any favorite fruit, any favorite candy, any favorite gum you've ever chewed in your life. Mm-hmm. There has to be a level of acidity to make the rest of the flavors sing, and that's the versatility I get with a Berliner Weisse. I can make a Berliner Weisse taste like your favorite wine. I can make it taste like your favorite seltzer, your favorite mixed drink, your favorite daiquiri margarita. My favorite right now is playing with mint. People love our brujitos.
Interesting.
So I can go on and on with
that. Like that, you hear mint. I've had a couple beers with like certain like these new experimental hops and stuff that's supposed to give off like more like mint flavors or whatever. I hear that and you're like, maybe not necessarily in a beer, but then you try it and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
A lot of people have a problem when they come initially, especially the non-beer drinkers that say, well, I just don't like beer. When you have a bit of a foodie approach to beer, and understand the components that you're working with. You know, you can ask someone a simple question as much as, well, do you like Coke?
Right.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's like Coca-Cola is nothing but caramel flavoring mixed with citric acid. You like beer. If you like Coca-Cola, you like beer. Because you're dealing with a little bit of acidity, you're dealing with a little bit of sweetness and caramel flavoring and some carbonation. It all gets down to, and I'm not by any means a very scientifically geared person, but I can appreciate it. And that's the great thing about Berliner Weisse is acids really they just open up your arsenal, so to speak, as far as flavors go.
Absolutely, and that's been kind of the fun part for me in doing this is starting out. I would never have thought to even maybe try a sour.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my own preconceptions with it, and at the time my palate wasn't as fully formed as it is now. And again, I'm still learning. I'm still forming my palate, but
as you should be.
It always changes. So, but I found now, as I've progressed and giving it more that foodie aspect of trying to expand what I'm used to, craft beers not only help give me new beers, but also give me new foods that I would never have tried. Because
exactly.
Now I'm looking at food a different way. I'm more looking at it like beer,
right,
and vice versa. And so it's helping me open my eyes and open my palate to a whole new set of everything.
Right, which is why you won't find skinny beer lovers.
Right, exactly. Nor should you. Right. Although you do pretty well.
Anyway, no, that's very true. Beer is, you hit the nail on the head. There's no more intimate experience that you're ever going to have than sitting down to a fine meal that someone has thoughtfully prepared for you. And when you have a beverage to complement that, it just becomes an augmentation of that meal. And so I try to look very much when I'm brewing something. How does this how does this play into a culinary experience? Like I said, the Berliner Weisse is just you have your elements of what makes good flavor. You have your acid, you have your salt, you have your bitterness, you have your sweetness, and all of those things combine to form that quote unquote umami character. Right. Why limit yourself? And a Berliner Weisse is just a fun way to do that. It's if you would ever sprinkle vinegar on your fries, if you would ever squirt some lemon on your calamari, you would enjoy your Berliner Weisse.
And that's a great way to put it, is because people hear the style, or they hear that maybe it's in the sour category. They already have a preconceived
notion
of what it's going to be. But to hear it described more like that, that's something that can really get somebody into maybe trying it. And I think that's all about explaining to the person properly about what the beer is.
Well, that opens up a whole other can of worms. I'm a big advocate of, for me, as a brewer, I've always said this, whether I was working for another brewery or whether I'm working for myself, brewing the beer is only 50% of my job. You need to know how to convey that beer to people, because you're either going to deal with a very experienced palate or a very new palate. If you come into Bascule Brewery, you'll notice on our board, our selection board, the flavor profiles. I'll be writing the flavor profile on the chalkboard, and I'll turn to whoever's at the bar. What are you tasting right now?
Yeah,
I want that honest feedback. If you tell me it tastes like leather and chewed bubblegum, I want to put that on the board, because if a person drinking the beer expects to taste it, they're not going to be as put off by it if it's something they weren't, if it's something they weren't expecting.
Right. And to tell a story, I was at a beer event, and there was all these different breweries, nationwide breweries and stuff. I won't drop any names, but my buddy goes up to one of these booths, and this is a brewery that did all IPAs, and they had 5 different IPAs available for sampling. My buddy goes up, asks the rep that's there. He goes, "What's the difference in all these?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "They're brewed differently." And then goes back to his buddy and starts talking to him.
So pretentious.
And at that point, my buddy never bought from that brewery again.
Right.
And it all goes back to feeling like you're a part of it.
And so, to speak to that, on the brewery side, or maybe even that bartender side, he lost a sale. In his mind, he might be thinking, well, what do I care? It's one sale.
Right.
However, he's not thinking about all the good things that could have come from a good experience, a good exchange right there.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you guys do here about how you inform your customer base and you make sure that they are as informed as they can be about what they're drinking, where it comes from, and what the flavors are that are going to be there.
Absolutely. But, I always tell people when they come in here, I would say almost maybe 70% of the people that come in here will say, I'm not a beer drinker. I've never had craft beer before. What's the quote? I'm no connoisseur.
Okay, yeah.
I'm no beer expert.
Right.
I said it's either thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah.
If it tastes bad, then I didn't do something right. I don't expect you to be a Cicerone or anything like that. What I'm here to do is to provide you with the best experience you possibly could have, and hopefully we have something you like.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you again so much for your time. Tune in next week for the grand finale here at Bascule Brewery.